back everyone, it's me Matt, and thank you so much for joining me today. We're once again talking about Russian air defense. It's as if the list of Russian air defense never ends. There is so many different platforms, but this particular one is certainly one of the more agile, fast-moving, and low-key levels of anti-aircraft systems. Of course, Russia has a whole plethora of systems that are way bigger than the vehicle we're talking about today, but I do actually really respect this vehicle. Today we are talking about the 9K35 Strela-10, otherwise known as the SA-13 Gopher, and I can kind of understand as to why it's called a Gopher. I mean, at the end of the day, very low profile, likes to tuck into the ground and dig into its position in that MTLB platform, and I do really actually fear this machine quite a bit, because at the end of the day, 4 pods of that kind of missile system, the 9M37 missile, is pretty nasty. Not only the 9M37, but the 9M37M and 9M333. These are nasty little anti-air missiles, and I do have to say, the Strela is doing quite a lot of work in the Ukrainian war right now on both sides of the table, and I would be pretty terrified being a low-flying aircraft hearing that whiz, and that prominent whiz is really interesting. I think it's fascinating when systems are booting up or spooling up the rocket prior to firing, and the Strela-10 is certainly one that you definitely know is a Strela when it's firing. And of course it is also the missile system used in, of course, yes, behind enemy lines, where the missile's been launched and for some reason can't catch up with an F-18 Hornet. But I actually really like that scene. I think we all know which scene I'm talking about. But this vehicle is impressive, and I know a lot of people give Russian hardware a really hard time. I want to be very clear, though, that as much as I talk about its use in either Ukraine or its use in general in war, I'm respecting its engineering, not endorsing conflict, not endorsing death or being engaged by this thing. It's technology, it's military technology, you know my channel, and I just want to talk about it and its features and its capabilities, and that's why we're going to talk about the Strela-10 today, because it is versatile, it's a mobile anti-aircraft system that is as deadly as it is fascinating. So let's get into the history and the evolution of the Strela-10. So the 9K35 Strela-10 was introduced in 1967. It was designed as a mobile, short-range surface-air missile system to replace the Strela-1. Developed by the Soviet Union, it was built to address the growing need for a reliable air defense solution capable of keeping up with advanced mechanized forces, and this thing is fast. The Strela-10 mounted its missiles on the MTLB chassis, a multi-purpose tracked and amphibious vehicle widely used already by Soviet forces, and this vehicle is fairly robust for what it's designed for, but of course nowhere near in comparison to its Western counterparts, but it didn't need to be. This vehicle tend to be tucked away into bunkers and dug in positions like you're seeing right now with the rest of its air defense network. But it's not so much the vehicle we're looking into here, it's the Strela-10's evolution of the missile, which began with the 9M37, equipped with passive infrared homing, but later its development saw subsequent versions like the 9M37M and the 9M333, which introduced more advanced seekers, increased resistance to countermeasures, and better performance in adverse weather. By the late 1980s, the Strela-10M3 variant was operational, boasting improved target acquisition and engagement capabilities. This system has been exported extensively, fielded by over 25 nations, and remains, of course, in service today. Its adaptability, simplicity, and reliability make it a mainstay in modern conflicts and anti-air defense of today. It's proven effective against many low-flying aircraft and drones, particularly drones in today's age, and despite its age, ongoing upgrades have kept the Strela-10 relevant for the battlefield. Now I have to admit, for its time, the Strela-10 system is really a masterpiece of Soviet engineering. Mounted on that rugged MTLB chassis, it provides exceptional mobility and amphibious capabilities, allowing it to operate in some really diverse terrains. From deserts to snow-covered fields, the vehicle is powered by that really good V6 diesel engine, giving a top speed of 60 km an hour on roads and 6 km an hour even in water. At its core are those 4 missile launchers designed to engage all low-altitude threats from helicopters to fast-moving jets, and primarily nowadays, drones. The 9M37 missile, the Strela-10's initial armament, has a range of around 5 km and can engage targets up to 3,500 meters in altitude. The infrared homing seeker locks onto the heat signature of the target, making it effective against aircraft, helicopters, and drones. Although challenges with drones have become more significant nowadays with the size of the drones reducing its heat signature, however, modifications to the platform and the systems, including the radar, have allowed drones to be more trackable and engaged. Later iterations, such as the 9M333, introduced a 3-channel guidance system that improved that target acquisition even in environments with strong electronic countermeasures. The missile speeds of 550 meters a second ensures a very quick response to fast-moving targets. The Strela-10 M3 variant added a radar-assisted target acquisition, increasing its overall operational effectiveness. In general, the average ratio of kills is about 6 to 10 or 6 out of 10 engagements every time, which is pretty good overall. Considering it's a 60% kill rate, I'd say that is fairly effective for a system that's mass-produced and is fairly cheap. One defining feature for this vehicle though is its ability to keep the missile pods retracted, reducing its overall radar signature and enhancing its survivability, and this is something I really love about this vehicle. It's already low profile, it's already stuck to the ground, and those pods don't need to be up in the air. They're sensitive systems. One thing that I found fascinating about the Rapier systems for the British Army back in the day was how sensitive they were, having to be calibrated. You move them a few inches and the whole thing had to be reset, and that's one of the reasons why in the Falklands campaign a couple of ships were actually sunk. The Rapiers could not be calibrated in time to knock out those Argentinian low-flying aircraft, and this system is trying to beat that a little bit. It's trying to lock down the platform and the pods without getting damaged as they go through wood lines, etc., and when they're needed, deploys them, and that higher signature is then exposed, but at that point you're about to engage a missile anyway, so what's the point worrying about being seen? Another factor in this vehicle's stealth is its lack of reliance on active radar emissions. Instead, it uses that passive infrared guidance, avoiding detection by enemy radar warning receivers. This makes the Strela-10 an excellent ambush weapon, capable of taking down unsuspecting aircraft and drones on the flanks. Primarily, these are used on the flanks. They're not a frontal air defense system. The Russians decided to use these as somewhat of a skirmish anti-aircraft defense, instead of the heavier setup systems like the Buck that are a little bit more frontal to engage higher level targets and faster targets. Its combination of stealth, mobility and firepower allows it to establish very quickly defensive anti-aircraft positions, and very effectively too. It's a reminder that in the cat and mouse game of air defense, the Strela-10 is always one step ahead, and which is why it's doing so well in Ukraine right now, and we're seeing over and over again these systems just engaging drone after drone after drone. In today's conflict, the Strela-10 though does remain a formidable asset and should be feared, particularly in the realm, as I said, of counter-drone warfare. With drones being the staple of modern militaries, the Strela-10's infrared-guided missiles have proven very effective against these smaller, harder-to-detect threats. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has highlighted its capabilities, and both sides have really deployed the system to try their very best to counter those low-flying reconnaissance and attack drones. It has a very good ability to track and destroy these targets, and it's made it invaluable, offering a very cost-effective solution to a rapidly growing problem. And many of you are probably saying, well, Matt, it's not cost-effective. The missiles themselves are probably very expensive. Correct. But when you're looking at the mass production of these kind of systems, they're not overly complicated. They don't require a ton of infrastructure to set up, i.e. their own radar systems. It is a standalone vehicle that can house up to 9 more rockets in the back of that vehicle. So you can basically put more pods in the back if you wanted to, although it'd be pretty tight in the back of there, and 9 seems a little much, but it says in the sources that I've been looking at that it can pull 9 pods in the back. I'm not too sure if that's really the case though. But it's really impressive. It's a sobering reminder that dual-edged nature of military technology. It doesn't need to be super intricate, it doesn't need to be super high fancy, it can just do something simple and get in and out quickly, and that's kind of what people are looking for nowadays. They don't have the budget or the capacity or the logistics or the infrastructure to produce these high-tech anti-aircraft missile systems. And that's another reason why I love the Strela-10. It's a prime example of Soviet pragmatism. Designed for mass production, it balances affordability with effectiveness. It's got a very good service record, and this philosophy allowed the Soviet Union to produce huge quantities of this system and export them for good cost too, even today, ensuring that widespread availability for parts, components, understanding of how the systems work, and learning from its allies, from Russia. Hey, is this system doing what they need it to do? Making upgrades, updating it as they're doing. And when you have such a broad spectrum of customers utilizing a system like this, you get a massive amount of data and feedback and market feedback analysis to be like, okay, we need to change this, we need to modify this. Which is why, as of today, it is still being utilized very well. This is not one of those vehicles where you look at and say, oh, it's just a mothballed fleet. These vehicles are doing very well at what they're meant to do, and hence why you're going to see a lot more of this particular platform. The cost effectiveness doesn't come at the expense of the performance though. It does have the ability to do what it needs to do. Of course, they are becoming more expensive as they start upgrading to more modernized systems to keep up with some of the countermeasures of drones and aircraft that are being able to push back against these missiles that are launched. But overall, I mean, the simple chassis of the MTLB is the unsung hero here. I mean, it's just a simple platform to put the pods on, and all the cost really just goes into the pods, not so much the vehicle itself, because they're just so easily mass produced. Few systems are as memorable, I think, as the Strela-10. As I said, a lot of people see this system and be like, yep, that's definitely anti-air defense. When you look at some of the more prominent heavy-duty Russian anti-air, you're like, what is that thing? Is it a nuclear launcher? I'm not too sure what it is. But everybody knows that whiz is definitely the distinctive noise of when those missile pods activate, and it's a chilling reminder of the lethal purpose, signaling that it's about to unleash that payload. This sound, combined with its infrared guided missiles, really create a system that's quite intimidating as it is effective. If you know that these platforms are out in the airspace, you're probably not going to want to be flying through them. The 9K35 Strela-10 is more though than just a weapon. It is truly a testament to engineering ingenuity. I love the fact that it can deploy those pods. I love its low profile. I love its low cost effectiveness. I love that there's a little man sitting inside of there doing all the engagements, similar to that of the Stinger systems on the Avengers for the Americans. I think it's just a really prominent Russian Soviet weapon system, and is still doing very well in what it needs to do in its technology. And of course, you're going to see more and more of these kind of platforms coming up into the modern day society of weapons production, because they don't need to be overly complicated. When you're knocking out a $500 drone, you don't need a $15 million vehicle. You need something simple, and the Strela-10 is part of that answer to that problem, that solution, right? You'll see actually more and more in the footage you're finding in Ukraine that these vehicles are becoming a lot more in terms of camouflage. What I find quite interesting is that drones are trying to hunt these things down. They're more a strategic asset more than ever before, because of course there's not enough aircraft to be able to do engagements, and drones are really filling that gap. But a lot of you are probably saying, well, Matt, it's just so much money to launch a missile at a drone. You've got to think of what a drone can do to a battle group. Just a few drones can knock out tanks worth millions of dollars, you know, C2 nodes, C1 nodes, command posts, like artillery units. They're just so deadly nowadays that you think that a missile knocking out a drone is an overkill, but in the reality of things, it's not. It's actually doing exactly what you need it to do. So I do have a lot of respect for this system. I actually am kind of terrified of it. I'm glad I'm not a pilot. I would clearly not want to be a drone if I was reincarnated and reborn into an electronic item such as a drone, because these things are deadly and very accurate. As I said, from the sources that I could find of the most up-to-date missiles of today, about 60% of hits are being fully engaged by this system, and some of you say that's probably a terrible hit ratio, but for the cost of what these things can be deployed for, I don't think it's actually too bad, and particularly how small drones are for a missile to still engage it. It's pretty damn impressive. I have to admit though, it is unfortunate these are being utilized obviously in war. I have no, again, wish to war to continue. I'm not trying to glorify it or condone it. I have no, allegiance anywhere here. I'm just trying to say this is an impressive military vehicle. It is fearful, it is terrifying, and I respect it. And I just hope that I myself never have to come across into an environment where this thing is being capitalized or utilized against my own battle group. Thank you so much for watching today, folks. I'd love to hear your opinion on the 9K35 Strela-10, otherwise known as the SA-13 Gopher. It is kind of Gopher looking too. It's got like weird kind of, I don't know, weird face to it. If you did enjoy today's video, please leave me a like. I'd love to hear your opinion on this platform, this system. Also, quick side question. Why is it that the Russian military is so heavily using multicam? Maybe that's a video I should make in the future, because I was always fascinated about how much multicam the Russians are actually utilizing compared to, it's other nations out there. You would think they'd just stick to their normal standard camouflage, but there's probably a lot more that I'm not really reading into there, but maybe you can comment on that. Yes, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, it's really important that you like it. I know this is cliche and cringe saying this. YouTube is absolutely annihilating my channel. I'm really not sure what I'm doing wrong, whether I don't know, maybe my videos just suck. I know there's a lot of competition out there now too, but I could really use your help, guys. Just, you know, leave me a comment, leave me a like. It really does help me. I do a lot of work, I put a lot of effort. I'm on my own, it's all me. If you could help me out, leave me a like and try and push that algorithm to step up this video. It would really mean a lot to me. If you do want to support me, check out my Patreon in the links below, and of course my sponsor, Attire for Effect, and their clothing brand. Really cool website, go check out their clothing. And that's it for today for the Strela-10. I appreciate you stopping by and have a wonderful day. All the best. Bye bye.